Welcome to the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show. Conversations with elite business leaders from around the world. And now, here is your host, T. Allen Haynes.
Welcome back to the show. We've got a great guest for you today. We have AmondaRose Igoe, and she is your Speaking Success Strategist. She's also an award-winning speaking expert and best-selling author. She has taught thousands of leaders, entrepreneurs, and business professionals her Invincible Speaker step-by-step system so they can effectively share their message and skyrocket their presentation results. AmondaRose is the author of Pain-Free Public Speaking and Share Your Story, and is a contributing author to the #1 best-selling book series, Chicken Soup for the Soul. The power of what AmondaRose teaches has helped her clients from over 20 countries overcome their biggest speaking mistakes and achieve massive monetary results. Welcome to the show, AmondaRose.
I am grateful to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me, Terry.
Yes, we're so excited to have you on the show. So let's just get right into it. Tell us about your business and the types of customers that you're helping.
Yep. So I am a speaking success strategist, and actually this month I'll be in business for 13 years. So as a speaking success strategist, what I do are three things. I help my clients design, deliver, and book, meaning that I help them design their talks from opening to closing, because that's a big challenge that people often have. Deliver it with high impact, so they are engaging the audience, they feel like they're standing in their speaking power, and I teach also newbie people how to start booking speaking opportunities.
Nice. That's awesome. So, how did you get started doing this? I mean, did you just wake up one day and decided that you were going to do this? But what led you to this field?
Well, I was absolutely led because I was a social worker and I had no desire whatsoever to own a business, especially a speaking training business. So fate kind of steps in our life sometimes, and we get put in places that we really don't think we're going to go. So yeah. I wanted to change out of social work, so I took a job with a nonprofit organization as a fundraiser. Well, Terry, they forgot to tell me when I took the job that I'd actually have to speak in front of groups of 100 or more, and I had no experience. I was an awful communicator. Every other word was ah or I had nervous laughter, like I'd giggle after I spoke. I mean, it's just bad, really bad. And so I thought to myself, well, I could quit the job and just find another one, or I could figure this darn thing out. So I invested in myself to learn as much as I could about the art of speaking, from body language and using your voice and all those little nuances. And in the process, I discovered that I had a unique ability for taking content and making it fun and engaging. So, for example, I did this talk for the nonprofit, and the board members were there, and they're like, oh my gosh, how did you do this? You need to teach every person on the team how to present like you. And I went, oh, crap. Awesome. And so I was in that position for 5 years. And, I think when you're led to do something, you get this internal guidance system that's telling you, boy, maybe you need to go in a direction. So I quit my job, walked away from a paycheck, and started my own business 13 years ago. And I actually initially thought I was meant to be a speaker. And within a very short period of time, I realized it was not only for me to be a speaker, but me to train other speakers. And so that's where it all started. And that was 13 years ago this month.
Oh, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing it with us. So let's back up a little bit. You mentioned speakers, but is that including people that are just have a desire to speak, or people that are experienced? Could you go into that a little bit more?
So my clients are typically business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders who are either brand new to speaking, or they're currently speaking, not getting the results they want. So people come to me that are brand new that might have a personal story that they want to share, like their victim to victory story, or they might have a new business that they want to get in front of more people. So speaking is a great tool for that. And then I'll have people that have been speaking, and they're going, you know what? I'm just not getting people to move forward with my programs, or I'm not getting booked for speaking opportunities. I need somebody to look at what I'm doing. For example, there was one woman that I worked with. Her name was Michael Ann. She's a guy, but a female, but her name is Michael Ann. And so she was getting standing ovations, but nobody was hiring her. So she's like, what is going on here?
The ultimate killjoy.
Yeah. So she's like, I need some help, I need somebody to look at my talk and make some changes with it. And that's what we did.
Yeah, we loved your presentation, but yeah. The round of applause, and then everybody walks away. That's not good.
Yep. Right.
Yeah, I don't want you to stand and give me an ovation. I want you to fill out your order form. But
yes, right.
Yeah.
Yep. I had a coach a long time ago, and I said, I want to get, I get standing ovations, but I want standing ovation. He said the same thing to me. He goes, you want standing ovations, or you want people running back to the room to purchase your programs? I'm like, oh my gosh. Let me reframe
standing
that.
Ovations. Standing ovations don't pay the bills. They don't pay the bills. Very good. So along the way, was there a book that inspired you?
Well, actually, there was a book that inspired me. In the early part of my business, I was really struggling because I had done a lot of training and a lot of personal development, business development, but I really didn't know how to run a business. So it got so bad that my husband's like, you need to go get a job. This is not working. So I found myself actually in my office on my hands and knees and praying, go, you know what? I need something to help me. And in the process of really committing to figuring out the business side of it, someone guided me to a book called Hiring the Heavens. And it showed up like a day later, like somebody saying, you need to read this book. And it's a spiritual book about how you can there's unemployed angels out there, and you could literally hire them to help you with all things, including your business. Nice. And so for me, it kind of made me feel like I wasn't alone, and that I started to see amazing results with it. Like just my business really started to grow. I didn't feel so stressed out, feeling like, I was doing it all on my own. I could call, some people might call on God to turn their problems over to, or their challenges, and say, here you go, we figure it out. And for me, it was Hiring the Heavens that really helped me.
Well, that's cool. That's the first time I've ever heard of that book. That's a writer-downer right there.
Yeah.
So what about a person? Was there somebody that truly inspired you?
Yep, there was. I think early on, because he was the catalyst in my realizing that I was meant to speak. It's a guy named Jace Souter. At the time, he was running a company called Life Tigers, and I met him at a training. He was doing the intros and things each day for the training, and then he offered a boot camp kind of thing, like a multi-day event. And so I went, and I was sitting there watching Jason. Jace he's about 7 years younger than me, and I'm in my 50s now. I was in my 40s then, and I just looked at him and go, my gosh, look at him changing lives. I want to do this. But my little voice said, you can't do it. The little voice inside my head said, you can't do it. No, he gets to do that. You can't do that. You're not good enough to do that. But watching him change so many lives really created that foundation. And then those internal nudges kept going and saying, you need to do this. Those voices telling me I need to do it were much louder than the voices that told me I couldn't. So if it wasn't for being at Jace's event, I would have never saw this as, maybe it would have happened later, but I wouldn't have saw it as a possibility. And today I get to do what I love, and which is, I do private coaching, live events, all of it, online trainings. And so it was watching him changing lives that made me realize that I was here to change lives too.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. Every morning or every day, what is it that your passion that fuels you to help these people? What is it that makes you get up every day to do what you do?
I think, we all have a higher calling, and then and we can create our business around our higher calling. And so for me, it's not so much about me getting in front of huge audiences. It's more about my clients getting in front of, when I'm not going, oh my God, I want to be on Oprah. I want my clients on Oprah. So for me, my calling is to change millions of lives in my lifetime. And the way that I do that is by changing certain people's lives and then watching them go and change more lives. and they go change more lives, and those people, they go out and change more lives. And so that's really what for me, it's about. It's that connection that leads to the other person whose life has changed, and on and on and on.
Nice. So as these people seek you out to help them, what are you finding to be the biggest misconception from becoming a public speaker?
Yep. The biggest misconception is that being comfortable is a good thing. Because there's two things, that being comfortable is a good thing, and they're both in alignment with each other. So often people say, well, I'm comfortable speaking. So I have perspective on it. If you're comfortable, it doesn't mean that you're good at it. All right? And it also means that if you feel too comfortable, then do you really care? And so I think that anybody who really cares about their audience and really wants to help and serve them will always have some kind of uncomfortable feelings. Excitement can show up, and that adrenaline rush can show up in many ways, but you're going to feel something that, are you going to do it? You're going to change their life. And so I think that anybody who says comfortable is a red flag for me, in the sense of it's really not about the audience. That's about them. That's my perception. May not be accurate, but that's my perception.
Interesting.
And the other one is when people say, well, people tell me I'm great. Okay. I've seen lots of people tell really bad speakers that they're great because they don't know what else to say. And so I think the best thing that in that case is if people are getting a lot of greats, ask people, what was your biggest takeaway? And then you'll know, did you really have an impact on them? So I think it's often the sense of I'm okay is okay, but really putting out your best foot forward is super important. Always striving for that. We never start that way. It's the striving. It's the striving to be our best for our audience.
Now, there's different types of speakers, right? I mean, there's people that are keynotes, people that are facilitators, trainers. Do you teach one differently, or are they kind of lumped into the same?
They are different. Like their closings are different. So there are, the way that they're going to teach. So you have the keynote. Obviously, a keynote is really not selling.
Right. So
they've got to have some kind of inspirational closing. So their closing is different. I do an interactive keynote. That's the way. I can't do it any other way. So, because I believe that people learn better when you interact with them, right? Sure. So, getting them to do things, getting them to respond in some way, getting them to take kind of action steps during your talk keeps them engaged and keeps the information from being a bunch of data in their head to where it moves to their heart, where they emotionally connect to it. So I teach an interactive keynotes, which are similar to the type of speak to sell, but the outcome, the closing is different. The things that they would do in their talk is different. And then there's also the training side of speaking. So hosting a live event or an online course, because that's speaking too. That's speaking and training too. So those things are different because there is way more value based in those things, and obviously people are paying for that. So they're more content driven and more, giving the whole enchilada type situation when you're doing a training.
Perfect. Can you share with us a case or a case study where you've actually taken someone and helped them transform?
So one of my favorite clients to talk about is Vanessa Shaw. So Vanessa, I worked with her when she's from the UK. She was in the UK when I worked with her. She's now out in Arizona. And Vanessa didn't have any speaking experience, none whatsoever. So Vanessa came to me and said, I want to start speaking. I want to grow my business, and I need a talk to put together, and I need to know how to book speaking opportunities. So we wrote this talk for her, and she went and delivered it, and she had a line of 60 people waiting to talk with her afterwards. She couldn't sell, but she had a line of 60 people waiting to talk with her afterwards. Yeah. Yep. And now speaking is her number one marketing tool in her business, and she creates hundreds of thousands of dollars every year by speaking. She hosts 3 or 4 events herself, very successful events, from intimate trainings to bigger audiences that she Yeah, she's got a whole team helping her with her events now, and she's got a system in place for doing that. Yeah, so she went from nothing and having no experience to really soaring.
Beautiful. That's a great story. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Oh, I'm happy to.
So, what would be the most important thing that you would tell someone who's looking to add speaking to their business so they can use that as an additional income source for their business?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing is that they need to have a talk that they can deliver over and over again, a signature talk. So a signature talk is something that is a talk that's completed, that they can go from group to group to group and present that talk. And the reason that it's important to get it done is because people think, well, I'll do the talk when I book the speaking opportunity. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. How are you going to book the speaking opportunity when you don't know what your talk is about? Right? Right? You come to present for your group. Oh, what are you going to present on? Well, I could talk about, and they just ramble on because they don't have a clear message that they've developed for their talk. So I always say do the talk. That way you can, craft it from opening to closing and make sure you do the closing because they often leave that out because it's uncomfortable for people. Mm-hmm. And so do the talk from opening to closing, have a title and a tagline that's appealing, and then contact groups, because when you do that, you can then say, I have this talk called based on your title and your tagline for your talk, and this is how it's going to help your audience based on the points that you developed. And so you can do that really concisely when you know what your talk is about. It keeps them from, the rambling on.
Yeah, that's a great point. When I run into speakers, they're always hung up on, well, I've got to get paid $5,000 to speak right out the gate. And they let that hang themselves up before, they know all this other stuff. But what is your take on speaking for a fee and not speaking for a fee?
Mm-hmm. So there's two things. One is, do you remember when in 2008, when the whole real estate market went crazy, mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so what do you think happened to all those paid speaking gigs when the economy tanked? They disappeared, right? And people that was their income. They were relying on that, and their income literally dried up. So I believe that you want to have a multifaceted approach. So you want to do the paid speaking opportunities, and you want to do complimentary presentations where you have an opportunity to talk about your programs and your services so you can monetize those. For example, one event that I did, I made almost $60,000 from that event. Mm-hmm. And so that's a nice payday. That's way more than I was going to get paid speaking somewhere. And so it's being able to seize both opportunities. Now, the newbie speaker, and this is where they often get confused, is they think they're going to go get that $5,000 job. You got to pay your dues. You got it. People have to hear you. They have to see you. They need to recommend you. And that's how you get your foot in the door with those opportunities. And they'll put, I'm a speaker on my card, and they think that they're just going to get them, and it doesn't happen that way. They've got to pay their dues.
So do you see a lot of people transitioning out of corporate America that want to be consultants and business owners? And I help people with their authority, and authority obviously is you got to be in the front of the room speaking. Mm-hmm. Do you see a lot of that transition going on, or has it been an increase?
It's definitely been an increase. I think that people are realizing, one, that they feel a calling to make a bigger difference, and two, that they want to be in charge of their own financial future and not put it in the hands of somebody else. Because the days are gone when you stayed in a job 25, 30, 40 years, right? And so there's no, I'm going to be able to have my position forever. It just doesn't happen anymore. So people feel more inclined to, one, figure out a way that they can help make a difference in this world, which is often the driving factor for many business owners and entrepreneurs, and that they want to be in control of their finances.
When speakers get started, they feel like they just show up and do their presentation, and then they don't have anything to offer after the presentation. So they're really doing their audience a disservice, correct?
100%. I love that you said that, Because I will say to people that, because they'll often make a decision whether an audience can buy or not. And that can impact their offer. And so it's like basically, I'll say to them, basically you slam the door shut on them and said, you don't deserve it. You're not worthy of my programs and services, and not to even give the people an opportunity to make a choice for themselves. So they might assume or just make an assumption about certain people in the audience. Maybe they're too young, too old, whatever. They'll make assumptions that those people aren't their clients, but you never know. Right? You never know. And I think that when we don't offer audiences are the ability to make a choice, that can impact their future, whether it's health, wealth, success, whatever it is, we take that choice away from them, and it's not our right to do that. So they deserve to hear about it and let them choose and decide.
So what should come first? Should I get the speaking gigs first, or should I have something beyond the speech first? Beyond the presentation?
Mm-hmm. So sometimes people will come to me that are really in the beginning start of their business, and they might say, I want to create an online product that I can sell. And that takes time. That's, it's not something you can put together in 24 hours, right? So I will say to them, well, can you do some work privately with people? And they go, yeah, I could do that. And so that allows them to have some type of offer that they can still work with people privately. And I think it also helps them work out the kinks in their future programs, because they've kind of tested it on other people. Sad to say that, but that's kind of what happens, is they're kind of seeing what works or doesn't work with actual coaching clients. And so that's helped people move forward, because they didn't think they had to have all the pieces together first. And it's easy these days to create stuff online. And I think that if they can do some private work or some kind of, one-to-one or one-to-small, it's much easier to go ahead and get started immediately.
Great. If the listeners are looking to get started with you, how would be the best way for them to do that?
They can actually go to highperformancespeaking.com, HIGH, performancespeaking.com, and they can get my 8 high-performance speaking tips that will help them double and even triple their speaking results. So that's 8 high-performance speaking tips at highperformancespeaking.com. And they can also visit my website if they want to reach out to me, and just contact me there. My number's there as well, and that's AmondaRose.com, AMONDA Rose.com, AMONDA Rose.com. I'd be more than happy to chat with them and see how I might be able to help them further.
Awesome. You gave some great nuggets there for speakers. And like I said, I love the speaking industry and speakers themselves. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and I know the listeners will too.
Awesome. Well, there you have it for this edition of the show. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks for listening to the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show with T. Allen Haynes. Conversations with elite business leaders from around the world. We will see you next time on the T. Allen Haynes Radio Show.